Welcome to EPG Pathshala. You all have become very smart by now, and you all know that Malthus so many years back talked about population and resource relationship in his theory. And I am Dr. Seema Mehra Parihar, teaching resource geography for last 30 years in University of Delhi. Also PhD in natural resource management and a postdoc in geoinformatics, WebGIS from ITC Netherlands. Carrying on today with the same topic of your earlier lecture, let's now look at the resource regions. Let's talk about and understand through this the world scenario of population and resource, how it is. To also know the Eckermann system of population resource regions, and also to understand the population resource regions of India. All those three concepts, yes, revise them. Which were those? Optimum population and overpopulation and underpopulation. The key words are Eckermann region, climate, FAO, industry and hunger. We all know what Mahatma Gandhi said, there is enough for man's need and not enough for man's greed, and that's what the situation is. Today we have new discoveries, exploitation, but the management has become an issue, and the population resource regions initiates and tell us that the situation is totally imbalanced. Carrying capacity of the land is going topsy-turvy. Global population is changing due to high mortality, high fertility to the low mortality and low fertility. Today, approximately 54% of the world's population are urban. As per United Nations report, by 2050, it's expected to reach 66%. Around a third of the urban population survives in slums, and by 2030, the slum dwellers are going to increase. 1/4 of the world population will be over 60 years, excluding Africa continent. Around 65% older population live in developing countries. Today, it will likely to reach 80% by 2050. We, of course, do not want to talk about hunger, but do you know that how many people, the ones they go hungry and there is hunger? It's estimated by United Nations that development goals of 2015 slightly moving towards it, but we need to end hunger, achieving food security and improving nutrition and promoting sustainable agriculture. But this is not happening. The largest number of world population suffers from hunger due to the lack of resources or overpopulation. Total 795 million people, it means 1 in 9 people in the world do not have enough to eat. Imagine if there are 20 of you, the ones who are watching this program just now, 1 in 9, 2 people would go hungry. Stop and pray that nobody goes hungry. 98% undernourished people of the world live in developing countries. Asia have worst hunger, 525.6 million people, following the sub-Saharan Africa, 214 million, and Latin America and the Caribbean, 37 million. 60% hungry population in the world are women. About 50% of the pregnant women suffer from lack maternal care, resulting in 300,000 maternal deaths annually from childbirth in developing countries. What happiness we are talking about? In the developing countries, 1 out of every infant who is born with low birth weight. And this is something which is so sad. Prevalence of undernourishment, in case if we look at it, at 1990 to 1992, in developed countries, it was less than 5%. Developing country, it was around 24%. Of course, we should be happy with the idea that today it's got reduced. Developed country remains same as 5% and developing country 12.9%. But we should not be happy. Why we should not be happy? Because the population base has increased, absolute base has increased. And we are talking about in this year, 2017, we are talking about hunger, undernourishment. Isn't it sad? What are the impact of the climate change on the resources is another thing that's making us weak. Monocultures are weakening, biodiversity is going topsy-turvy. Of course, we need to decrease the population growth. And by now we have understood this. How can we do it? By increasing income, improving literacy rate, diminishing infant mortality, empowering women by giving them education, urbanization, family planning practices. All this will add and will help us in reducing the number of people who come to this world. And of course, all of the facilities which are around us need to be corrected, checked and given. About 40% of agricultural land is moderately degraded and 9% is highly degraded. Global crop yield by as much as 13% is there. So without sufficient nutrition, shelter, water and sanitation produced by more intelligent human nature, symbiosis increase migration. And so now what is the problem? The problem is again conflict. Enough people not having homes, and the poverty and the poor people are also called, so-called environmental refugees are also there, which are there. In earlier times we were talking about war refugees, and today we are talking about environmental refugees. So please remember that there is an issue and we need to work and we all need to join towards it. Once thought to be a problem that urbanization was a problem, but sometimes some people say that it may not be such a big problem because it may be providing people urban housing, water supply, good conditions, sanitation and other urban structure needs are there which are so very important and which is happening. And this may help us in reducing the economic burden on younger generation and to keep up living standards. People will work longer, create many forms of work, part-time work and job rotation. So what will happen? At least these urban spaces are providing financial help for people to go in and buy food, clothing and shelter. So that's a good thing which the technology is helping for. Nanotech reduces material consumption per unit of output, again a good sign. Increasing utility and durability is again expanding. ICT is more optimally matching the needs and resources worldwide in real time. Better rain-fed agriculture systems are there, irrigation management practices are there, genetic engineering is again helping us in growing crops in a much more better way and in large quantity. Currently, agriculture uses 80% of arable land in developing countries, of which 20% is irrigated. Massive efforts are required to maintain fertile cropland, gap of 60% if you remember this data. Demand for animal protein may increase 50% by 2020. Triggering massive investment into genetically modified food, aquaculture, stem cells for meat production without growing the animal. That means there's too much we still need to do. Even today, and some people say that there's enough, for enough, by enough, but again we need to work towards it. We need to work in finding solutions. We have understood that the situation is dismal. And policy makers, thinkers, decision makers have to think of situations where we want the world to be ultimately a happy place. World to be without any divide of rich and poor. But if forget about the rich and poor, you will agree with me, at least there should be nothing written on this slate called Hungary. Hunger should not be there. Population and resource regions, we need to find out how are they there. And for this, I would like to talk about Eckermann regions. So now you remember the name of Eckermann. Eckermann said population factor, resource factor, technology factor is the one that decides on that which region is how. And he said that among that, the most critical is technology. Technology is related to culture. As in the United States and Europe, the resources and prosperity are at adequate thought, though not necessarily at the optimum level. Eckermann, while using the three factors of population, resource and technology, PRT, puts greater emphasis upon the technology, as I said before. So now there are 5 broad population resource regions of the world, as drawn or delineated by Eckermann. One is, there is the United States type technology region, then source area of high population resource ratio or the European type, technology deficient areas of low population resource ratio or the Brazilian type, technology deficient areas of high population resource ratio, the China or Egyptian type, and technology deficient areas possessing a few food processing resources as the Arctic desert type. And this is something which is definitely there. So you have these 5. So now let's go through each one of them. The first is United States type, and these cover large territories that are well stocked in terms of known or potential resources. Isn't that the reason why all of you or many people would like to go and settle in United States? The population of these regions also is not very large. Mostly these have small to moderate population. Technologically skilled persons are in abundance, not only for the national territory, but also for export to the technology deficient areas. The society is well equipped with social and technological means to maximize the national as well as individual affluence. By virtue of their extensive territories and general physical resources, These regions are able not only to create lofty social and economic estates within their own terms through virtue of their political and commercial arrangements, but other countries also look up upon. Moment you talk about the big country, the idea that you have is United States and the related one, where you have more resources, more people who are technological driven, but less population, and can also have more people added to it so that they can expand. In this nearly ideal concurrence of factors, though the economy had developed rapidly, it has caused irreparable damage to the habitat due to the destructive manner in which the people of these regions have used their own as well as outside resources, especially the soil, forests and grassland minerals, and so on and so forth. The countries included in this group are United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, part of Russia, more recently settled central and the eastern parts, and Argentina. United States type population, resource and technology relationship is the most recent of the type, and it did not exist about 100 and 150 years ago. Most of these countries were Brazilian type before gaining their present status. Of course, everybody would like to be in United States type, the category. Let's come to the second region, the European type. These regions could also be termed as elite regions. Here the territories are small, resources are limited, and the populations are larger in comparison to the United States type. Narrow territories are there. Still narrower resources coupled with larger population produce intensive local economies and conservative attitudes towards resources. The social skills and the ingenuity on an average is no less impressive than that in the United States type. Prosperity of these regions was more dependent upon the degree of international exchange of skills, technologies, goods, etc. The skills, services and advanced industrial goods are exchanged for such services, and goods that are locally deficient, example, petroleum, oil, food safe, unskilled, and so on and so forth, there is a search for it. People would like to make them abundant. If not abundant, at least enough. Development of hydropower and improvement in elaborate transportation network and all that is there. So people get a feeling of having enough. In these regions of large population and limited resources, there emerges a struggle for existence. Again there appears, supported by close trade ties to get the best of the collaboration of scattered resources and raw material. Such regions can ill afford the destructive use of their local and outside resources. The countries included in this group are those of, can you guess? Yes, I want you all to guess the countries. I know, I said Europe, so you know it. Southern and Eastern Europe, excluding Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Yugoslavia. Let's come to the third region. Can you guess a country starting with B? Brazilian type. These are the areas that are technology deficient, but fairly stabilized in terms of size of population. These areas are usually of fairly substantial size, where the present day population size is well below the level that could comfortably be supported by known resources of the region. Their present status is only a transitional status, which could lead them either to European type or China and Egyptian type, which we'll be studying, depending on the development of their resources. And if you remember the Eckermann, for him, what was the critical thing? Out of those three, PRT, was P, R or T? Of course T, technology. And Brazilian also can improve. Most of the lands of Brazilian type are confined to three regions: Indochina region, Tropical Africa region, and Latin American region. Although the physical relations of Indochina region could support much more highly developed human societies than what prevail there now, yet formidable political and social barriers block advancement. Australia, much of the tropical Africa can be considered underpopulated, but many physical and social problems hamper Bolivia, Venezuela, interior Argentina, and Paraguay, and you all will agree to it. So now let's come to the fourth type of region. Yes. Do you remember which one was it? You can relate it with mummies. Yeah, Egyptian type. Most discouraging type of population resource region. It refers to the lands that suffer from great imbalance of population and resources. These are the areas that are most densely populated. Their populations are rapidly growing. Eckermann in this region is confined largely to alluvial valleys. Valleys because people settle there. Mainstay of economy is, of course, agriculture, and most of the cultivable land is devoted to food crops, sometimes subsistence. There is little possibility of bringing more areas in the plough. The agricultural sector is not scientifically developed, so that even with very large proportion of population being engaged in agriculture pursuits, the food producing capacity of these islands is limited. The technology is yet to be advanced. The physical resources are limited. Capital resources too are limited. There is no significant mineral wealth. Therefore, what will happen? The level of social development will be low. These problems of illiteracy and all that will be there. Again, skilled people would be low. People have conservative and negative attitude. There is a situation of hand-to-mouth living. So now, that's something, which need to be further progressed ahead by giving them education, giving them so-called wisdoms that we have in our society for social evolution. Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco in Africa, Sardine in southern Italy, Albania, Greece, southern Yugoslavia in southern Europe, Haiti, El Salvador, Guatemala in the New World, and China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, South Korea, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Cyprus, Jordan, etc. in Asia are the typical areas of this type, practically large part of the world. So now let's come to the last region, Arctic desert type. This category of population resource evinces little interest among population geographers due to obvious reasons. I'm talking about population geographers, not resource geographers. Do you remember your Zimmermann's model, if you remember, the neutral stuff getting converted? So this is the place, for me, in case if I look at it, is a place with a lot of neutral stuff. And again, carrying capacity also is something, because today you have borderless world. There's no land that's mine or yours or anybody's. Today in this borderless world, we all can have movements. And I see it as a space where you have a lot of scope. But let's see what Eckermann had to say. So now let's think about that. We are talking about this region. These are fairly extensive areas which have remained entirely uninhabited due to excessive aridity or cold physical isolation, remoteness, or inhospitable terrain. There are other no settlements at all, or at best these are the homes of small marginal groups. But the question is, can new technologies can make these spaces where people can survive and live and feel happy with? Yes, we are knowing that new things are happening. Their significance at present lies in the abundant supply of raw materials. Mineral ores, fuels, furs, marine life and hydroelectric power potential is there. However, unforeseen technological advancement in the coming years may enhance their importance significantly, and I am looking forward towards that. Entire Antarctica and Greenfield are the major areas of this type. Greater parts of the Northern America, much of the Northern Eurasia, and the island north of this continent also fall in this category. It holds true of Sahara and the arid regions of Southwest and Central Asia too. Empty lands of Mexico, Southwest United States, desert areas of Peru and Chile, Central Australia, Patagonia, Amazons, Southwest Africa, and claim of all the status by virtue of their deficiencies. So then that means this is a reality. So there's a lot of scope even now. So do not feel disheartened. But now let us see about the population resource regions we have seen of the world. Let's come to India. So in this section, we are going to talk about population resource regions of India. There has been identified 19 population resource regions in this country on the basis of population resource, population growth, resource potential, and levels of socio-economic development. These regions are grouped again into three broad categories of dynamic population resource regions, prospective population resource regions, and problem population resource regions. Let's do each one of them one by one. First is a dynamic population resource region. These areas are linked with big industrial and urban clusters, attracts immigration from rural areas due to sufficient scientific and technological resource potential. It consists of 5 regions covering the parts of West Bengal Delta, Deccan Trap, Tamil Nadu Punjab Plains, and Ganga Yamuna Doab region, and southeastern Karnataka Plateau as the 5th region. These regions have seen the maximum pulling effect over the rural population in the deltaic region of West Bengal owing to heavy concentration of industries in the Hooghly industrial region. The Modar industrial region is adjacent to it, and Deccan region is of the equal importance, which has attracted maximum development of industries in this region. Urbanization is a part of this. Industry access like Mumbai, Ahmedabad developed the infrastructure facilities like transport, power action, and health for the growth of tertiary and quaternary service in the center. So the people get attracted to this region like Nagpur and Sholapur, etc. And these regions have great effects over the population of the neighboring areas and towns in Tamil Nadu region, which also get further developed. And there you have high population density, low growth, balanced industrial, commercial activities, because people want salaries, people want to earn. Where will they go? They'll get attracted to this region. Labor and manpower would come from the surrounding areas of Madurai, Coimbatore, Tuticorin and other regions, which will further add to the population region. Next is the Punjab Plane and the Ganga-Yamuna Doab Plain. They have been agricultural traditional areas, but due to the increased growth in industrialization and urban development, and Delhi metropolitan region have magnetically attracted large rural population. You know it. The southern Karnataka plain consisting of so many other subparts like Bangalore, Mysore, Kolar district is the fifth dynamic region of India. The rapid industrialization around Bangalore has cemented the way for following things: economic growth, high-tech industrialization and urbanization, which have further attracted larger number of people across country. So then let's talk about the prospective population resource regions. The socio-economic restrictions obstructed the utilization of rich natural resources. We all agree. Due to this, the scattered patches, whichever are there in India, with some industrial centers, have emerged in recent years. And there are 3 regions included in this group. These are the northern eastern region consisting of 17 districts of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, 6 from Jharkhand and 7 from Odisha, is the richest mineral bearing area of the country. It has vast reserves of coal. That means, what I'm trying to tell you, this is a region where you have natural forest wealth, you have natural minerals, but they are not being fully utilized. There is also rich, so that means this rich resource base also is getting not underutilized. And plus, so what is happening is that there is a need to increase or accelerate the process of economic development in this region. Then there is another such prospective region in Malwa Plateau region of western Madhya Pradesh, which is lagging behind in economic development, despite rich resource base, which is available there. You have copper, zinc, lead, limestone, and so on and so forth. But again, it is less developed. Industrial development in this, just in the initial stage, juvenile stage you can say, and centered around cities like Indore, Gwalior, Bhopal, Jaipur, Jodhpur, and so on. Western of the southern Karnataka plateau is another third region which falls into this. Goa has a good prospects of hydropower and the mineral resources which may be extracted for the development of iron and steel and so forth. Brahmaputra Valley is another part which has sufficient potential for industrial development due to the availability of the petroleum, coal and rich forest resources. Most of the laborers who are working in petroleum refining industry, construction work and agricultural operations get attracted to this region and make the region of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal attractive. Then by now we have seen that there are some regions where people are getting less. So now the third region is problematic population resource region. And of course we will not like to study that. But this category includes 9 resource regions with different physical cultural background. These areas are characterized by unfavorable population, resource balance and hence offer little opportunity for development. While some of these regions suffer from the problem of overpopulation and have now reached the saturation point, and other possesses the meager natural resources to obstruct the process of development. In some of these regions, the environmental restrictions, lack of infrastructural facilities and combined with paucity of skilled laborers and uneconomic utilization of resources are major obstacles in the path of development. Kerala coast, Odisha coast, Middle Ganga plain and Lakshadweep group of islands are included in first category, where high population density is the main cause of poverty and deprivation. Konkan coast of Rajasthan, just remember that. Arid plains suffer from resource crunch also. Because population clusters are so many. Hilly areas, northern western Himalaya, eastern plateau and Andaman Nicobar Island are included in the third category, where undulated dissected topography and thin soil cover provide fewer opportunities for good agricultural harvest. Rugged topography and limited development of transportation have restricted the utilization of hydel for mineral resources of the region for economic opportunities. Owing to unable or the bad conditions in this area faces serious problems for resource development. Population resource regions through such regional disparities are likely to be emphasized in futures. Dynamic resource regions offer greater possibilities for attracting migration. The problem of region putting the challenges to the planners and policies, and we need to work towards it. We need to devise the new strategies to accelerate the pace of reference in these regions. So what have we learned now? We have learned that the diversity exists in the world. There are so many people, even today, forget about the numbers, forget about the numeric numbers. What we find that there are regions which need to be developed. There are regions which are difficult to develop. There are regions which have luxury of natural resources, but technology has not reached there. So that means what we see around us, let it be if we read about the Eckermann region, or we look at the potential regions or the dynamic regions in the context of India, what we find is that situation of all these population resource regions is not so positive. We all have to see to it that we all, each and every citizen in this country, every person who has come to this world remains happy, and we could also give them, in case if we want to spatially find and create homogeneous regions, all those homogeneous regions, or let it be heterogeneous also, let it be those islands also, they all should be the one where all the facilities are based. But of course, disparities will be there. But the policymakers, if you are listening by any chance, please take care of all of us. We are here only with a lot of hope that we'll find ways where we'll make this world a happy place to live in. And there'll be no person who will leave this world or who will go hungry or sleep without a single morsel of food in his or her mouth. Thank you. Please help each other. Yes, the world needs it. Thank you.